Hey guys, welcome to another video from Homesteading Off the Grid. If you've been following our channel, you know we do a lot of tree propagation. Recently we showed you how to root willow trees from cuttings. And we have some friends who have a beautiful weeping willow tree in their yard. As you can see here, this tree is probably 20-ish to 25 years old. We thought we'd ask our friends if we could take our pruners and just clip off a few cuttings from this tree to propagate and to grow more weeping willow trees from it. And we kind of hit the jackpot because our friends said, well, you could just take the whole tree. I guess it's planted too close to their plumbing system and the roots are causing some damage in their pipes. It's caused some pipe damage in the past. And so they were actually thinking about bringing somebody in and having the tree removed. And I said, no, don't pay anybody for that. Yeah, I'll take the tree. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut it down. We're going to use the majority of it for cuttings and see if we can't get 1,000 or more weeping willow trees out of this. And the main trunk and limb parts we're going to chop up, let it dry, and just burn it in our wood stove this winter. So remember, safety first. You always want to wear your safety glasses and make sure you know how to use a chainsaw. But I'm going to go ahead and cut this down real quick and you guys can watch. Come on up closer, honey, so you can hear me. That might be close enough. Okay. So I just want to make sure you could hear me. But we're going to, here in just a second, stop recording. We'll edit the rest of this tomorrow. But we're going to go through now, and we're going to try to get some of the cuttings we've been doing are about 10-inch long cuttings. We're going to go through here and find some forked parts, some healthy forked parts. For instance, this one. And we're going to try to make some big cuttings by actually trying to root these from here up and see if we can't get some 5 or 6 foot tall weeping willow trees from rooting this year instead of waiting 4 or 5 years from using 10-inch cuttings. So we're going to be right back with part 2 of this video, all in one video. Next time you're going to see us rooting it. I want to point out too that I've been cutting trees down for a long time, decades, and I kind of know what I'm doing. So this is one of those don't try this at home type things unless you really know what you're doing, okay? Always think about safety first, and we'll be right back showing you how we're going to root this tree. All right, so we're back on our homestead. A couple days have passed since we cut down that tree, which you saw the first part of this video. And now we're going to start rooting some of our willow cuttings. we ended up getting, and we just had part of them out here for the purposes of making this video, but we got over 1,000 cuttings from that willow tree. We used larger branches as poles to make a green bean teepee. We'll link that video to the end of this one. That's a really good idea. And the main trunk of that tree is going to be firewood. It's not going to put off much heat. It will be burned. If we do burn it inside, it'll be in fall when it's not really super cold and we're not really counting or depending on the heat from the wood, or we'll use it up at our campsite for campfire wood. But my point to all this is that none of that tree is going to go to waste. It's all being used. And our friends, to whom we're very thankful, gave us an entire willow tree, will no longer have to worry about the roots going after their water system. Folks, you've got to remember, if you're going to put a weeping willow tree on your property, the roots are very aggressive in seeking out water. They say you've got to have them at least 35 feet away from your house. Our willow tree way out in that field is about 250 feet away from our house. But not everybody has this large of a land, but keep that in mind. So anyway, there's more than one way to skin a cat, and there's more than one way to root a tree. We've been showing you how to basically root trees in water. And here's some willow trees we started about 3.5 weeks ago. We've been transferring these to pots already. But you can simply soak them, the cuttings, in water, and as you can see there, you'll get nice roots coming off of them. And we're going to put these in pots later. We've already put a lot of them in pots. But I'm going to show you how you can root trees in sand. We're in an area here that we call our lab. This is where we do a lot of our tree propagation. I mean, we plant stuff, acorns, by seeds in other areas, as you know. But in this specific area, we do things that are a little more complex. I want to point out that this area is fenced in. You can see the gate behind me. We've got 6-foot high chicken wire all around us, and this isn't to, well, it is to kind of keep the chickens out too, but it's mainly to keep the deer out. We have a deer problem in our area. There's just too many deer, and anything we try to grow, if we don't keep it caged in, the deer will eat it. So if you have deer in your area, keep that in mind. But now, getting these trees to root in sand is very simple. I'm just going to take some cuttings that my beautiful bride, who's recording this video, made, and we're going to do quite a bit of them in water because it is so simple and it's just easier. But I wanted to show you how you do it in sand. First of all, I'm going to point out our structure here. This is our rooting structure we made. We used an old set of shelves that was in our garage when we bought this place that we didn't need for any other purpose. You can see it's got sections. The shelves, each shelf, when we lay it flat on the ground, represents a different section. Now, I haven't filled this in with sand all the way yet because I wanted to show you exactly what we're doing as we're doing it. But by using these shelf spaces, we can root different species of trees without worrying about getting them mixed up and confused, okay? Now, this is about 6 inches high, which is plenty of space, and this is just common, every use possible sand. We got this at Lowe's for $2.98 a bag. I bought 10 bags last night. This is actually 6, so 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to have to stop by and get a couple more bags. But you fill your frame with the sand, you take your cutting, and you gingerly put it down into the sand. Now, ideally these cuttings should be 10 inches long. Okay, 8 to 10 inches, and you simply just press them down into the sand. Now it's got to be new growth. Okay, so you want it to be green, because you're going to be more likely to have success. And with willow trees, it's hard not to have success. This is probably the easiest tree to root. Okay, and like us, mix it up. Do some in water, do some in sand, experiment around with it and see what you have the highest success rates with. And I want to point out, we're not pushing them down so hard that it's bumping up against the ground. There's probably an inch of sand underneath the bottom of this twig and the ground. The sand is good to use because it's very porous. It allows air to get through there. It allows proper drainage of water. And you want to keep this moist. So as it heats up later in the year, we'll come out here with our water hose, put it on the mist option on the end of the nozzle, and just mist this down and keep it moist, okay? And these will root within just a couple, 3 weeks. At least they do in water. We're going to see how long it takes in sand. Now, I'm going to finish these up later, but I also brought out some apple tree cuttings that we've had sitting in water for about 3 weeks. These had little buds on them, and I'm patient. I saw those buds and I saw an opportunity to just kind of have a beautiful little decoration in our house. So we've had this setting in the kitchen window for 3 weeks and they bloomed out and we had beautiful white flowers, but they haven't really rooted, and that's because I left the buds and I left the leaves, and the energy of the stem was going to feed the leaves in the buds. But they're still very much alive, and we were getting a few nodes there on the end just from setting in water. So now I'm going to give these things a jump start, and I'm going to bring them out here, and you can do this with fresh cuttings, okay, with your fruit trees. And remember, you want to go with the newer growth so that it's green. You're going to have a higher success rate with the newer growth. There's a lot of little nodes coming out on this one, and we're just going to make sure to very gingerly with this one. I want to make sure I don't knock those nodes off, so I'm going to actually dig a hole with my fingers, put it in there, and then just very gingerly fill it in like that. Now all those nodes are covered from where it's starting to root just from sitting in the water. Now it's going to take your fruit trees longer to root than it is something like a willow because it's a more complex plant. Willow trees just grow long weeping limbs and branches, and they look beautiful, and their roots seek out your water system to destroy it. Remember that. That's why you'll often see willow trees planted by ponds or creeks on people's properties or on golf courses. That's because these roots figure out where the water is, and then they'll go towards that water source. So if you have a house here, here's your field, and here's a pond, plant that willow tree closer to your pond because your roots will find that water source and they'll leave your house alone. It really does work that way. But now apple trees are more complex in that they don't just grow beautiful weeping limbs and look pretty and seek out your water source to destroy your piping. They produce buds, as we talked about, as I just showed you, but then later in the year they also produce fruit. If those buds, they open up, they become beautiful flowers. If they get cross-pollinated by the honeybees, the hummingbirds, the butterflies, they'll produce fruit, as you know. So these will take longer to root. These will root in 2 or 3 weeks. These may take 2 or 3 months. And again, I want to point out that, I mean, as pretty as it is, and as much as I hate to do it, if you take off all the leaves, it's going to root faster, because now this plant will not be spending its energy feeding those leaves. It's going to be using the energy to produce roots, okay? Because it wants to live. This one has some nice nodes on it, so I'm going to dig a hole. I'm going to do that and bury it back up. But guys, this is really all there is to it. $2.98 a bag for the sand. You can make your own structure. Stick them in there, keep the sand moist, and just be patient. Patient, patient, patient. So we're going to get into putting a lot of these in the sand here once we're finished recording, but I wanted to thank you for your time, for watching our video. If you learned something from it, if you enjoyed what you saw, please subscribe to our channel down there in the bottom right hand corner of your screen, and we will see you next time with more videos from Homesteading Off the Grid.